So yeah, TRVL, we lost the all-time low. If anyone isn't aware, I gave a warning to people on Discord about TRVL just because I've been following it for such a long time, and I didn't want people to feel like I'm trying to manipulate or lie or whatever. Just being honest. I didn't make a video. I didn't make a video of it because I didn't think that's necessary. So I'm not trying to FUD the project. Anyway, it's here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Anyway, it's a lot. I have to go up. So let's have a look. Yeah. I actually warned everyone on Discord about TRVL. It just wasn't looking strong. There's no way to defend the price action. Yeah, I don't want to be disingenuous and pretend that this is great. It's not great. Nothing changes. I'm wearing a Dtravel hat. I'm still here. Other, you know, like, I'm not just going to abandon something I believe in. I think what we're experiencing in the market is there's a direct correlation with what we're experiencing and what's going on at Dtravel. I think what we're experiencing now is massive uncertainty about the future, a lot of questioning, a lot of reflection, self-reflection, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of doubt. A lot of people have entered higher up and their investments seem like they're going to zero. Look, it feels like it's going to zero, doesn't it? Feels like it. Sometimes those can be the best times to buy. Yeah, this could be the buy of a lifetime on a project that really has a massive amount of potential, like potential beyond our imagination. It could be. Yeah, it really could be. I really believe that. I honestly believe that. Otherwise I wouldn't continue to talk about TRVL or Dtravel. Okay, arguably the price rises have something to do with my videos. You could argue that. I don't think so, but you could argue that, you know. Arguably the price declines and rises of the market. You know, there's different explanations, but fundamentally what's going on here is problematic because you have lower highs and now we've got lower lows. We've got bearish market structure that hasn't been changed. The problem is that the range is so fucking big, 300-400%, that it's hard to break, because anyone buying here or anyone longing here or whatever, by the time the price goes up 200, 300, 400%, they're taking profit, they're selling. And unfortunately, in a low liquid, low volume environment, that reflects badly in the price action and people panic sell, which is what's happening, panic selling. So as soon as the price was sold at the top, people who sold did not buy back in here, and as soon as you lost it, people started to sell. It's a low liquid environment, reasons beyond my understanding, but fundamentally the reason why, I mean, we can argue about that, so I'm not really here to argue about the reasons why, but the reality is it is a low liquid environment. And so when you get kind of suddenly the whole market becoming hysteric, they start all selling, and so you end up with this kind of crazy sell-off, which is what we're experiencing, a crazy sell-off. We had one chance opportunity, one little buyback here at around 4 $0.015, and eventually that was sold into. And ever since we put this kind of dreadful capitulation type candle, really bearish, it correlated with the ST tag on Bybit, which was unfortunate because that was a mistake, that was an accident. Bybit changed the terms of projects qualifying, and they didn't warn Dtravel about some certain conditions for qualifying, and then they just labeled the token with an ST tag. From what I've heard, that's been rectified, but it hasn't shown, it's been rectified as far as Dtravel is concerned, but it hasn't been rectified on Bybit. So therefore there's still this air of uncertainty, fear, and it doesn't help that the rest of the market is just generally, when I say the rest of the market, the rest of the altcoin market is just generally extremely weak. Bitcoin dominance keeps on pushing up, and this kind of the wider fear, uncertainty, and doubt has kind of fueled the fire. The fire was still raging, but it's fueled the fire. And so now we're in a situation where this could be an opportunity of a lifetime. And I think it is still, but obviously things are, some certain things, which I'm not going to talk about really, probably need to be addressed by Dtravel. Okay, there are conversations happening in Telegram and elsewhere, private conversations, public conversations, ideas being floated around, suggestions of changes, etc. But when it comes to crypto, what you need are two things. You need really good people leading the way. And I mean good, I don't mean morally good. I mean good at what they do, good at understanding the market, good at understanding context, good at understanding the community or interacting with the community, good at kind of keeping the community engaged, and good at responding to kind of questions and fears and doubts and anxieties when things are treading difficultly. That's really important. And then the other thing you need in crypto is a crazy fanatical community, crazy fanatical, like a mentally crazily, and so the community is the one that actually supports the price. And so when you get a situation like this, it's clear to see that the community is not rallied around the price. And we can argue about the why. People have different opinions about the why. Some people think everything is going as planned, some people think everything is great, and some people think the opposite. I think that there are two aspects, or potentially three aspects to Dtravel, and what we're on one aspect of it is the real world application, the peer-to-peer application, the one that I use for my businesses as an operator on Dtravel, and that's fantastic. Honestly, that is amazing. That's like off the charts. I can't describe, I can't tell you how impressed I am. Let me see if I can find it. Is it Halt? Halt. There's this kind of page where you can see all the stats of the bookings and the listings, etc. Wish I could find it, but I can't remember the name of the link. Maybe I'll find it in a second. But the application is really good, and proof of that is in the pudding. Yeah, the pudding which I've eaten. Okay, so this is my site hosted by Dtravel. I can accept direct bookings in my apartments. Very good, amazing, really good. I mean, it's just it looks basic, but it's really good. It's really good because it works. All the problems have been ironed out. It's connected to so many different payment gateways and channel managers and etc. And so it's very accessible, and it works. It works very well. You can collect payments through Stripe and fiat, credit cards, whatever. It's really good. It's a really good peer-to-peer application. The records of the transactions on the blockchain are recorded into the blockchain, and it's a very technologically advanced application. It's cutting edge in many ways, and the other aspects of Dtravel which are really good are also kind of the app that they launched, the Traveler app. So See if I can find it. Really good web app. Yeah. And this is basically an application already worth the value of Dtravel. Everything that they've done is already worth the value of Dtravel. So when you're coming to contemplate Dtravel, then without kind of looking at all the noise and the fear and the anxiety and the doubt and everything that people are thinking about, just focus on the market cap. $7.2 million market cap. This is already worth more than the market cap, much more. Yeah. And to date, Dtravel has processed over $1 million worth of direct booking transactions. So that when you look at the market cap, you think, what the hell? 7 million market cap, 1 million in transactions. How does this correlate? Okay, it doesn't. It doesn't correlate. It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. So why the sell-off? Why are people losing confidence? What is this? What is this price action? What's going on? Can you just ignore the price action? Should you just be buying and just waiting for this to somehow bounce up? I think that's a strategy that people can use. Just keep on dollar cost averaging in and not even look at the price. Just forget about the price. Just, who cares? Your final value is your TRVL value. I think the problem is that fear can grip a lot of people when the price is looking like this. Yeah. And it's hard to catch a falling knife. I don't recommend it, because you'll buy somewhere here at a really good price, 1.8 cents, 85 cents. And then next week it's going to be at 1.6 and 1.4, whatever. And you're thinking to yourself, shit, how low can this go? That's what you think. Or is this it? Is this the final drop? And then Dtravel is going to collapse. Well, I can assure everyone, Dtravel is not going to collapse. From what I've been told, they have a runway which is going to last comfortably for the next 1.5 years without any new injection of investment. Yeah, so there's no problems there. Absolutely no problems with the runway. Dtravel is just going to keep on doing what it's always done, which is building and growing and establishing itself in this area of trying to decentralize travel, but beginning with short-term vacation rentals. So there's no problems with the business. Yeah. And as far as I can tell, the Dtravel team should be applauded for what they've done. And I've been a beneficiary of that in my own business. I think what we're experiencing here is something slightly nuanced, because even though people have kind of can see the business, they can see the value, they can understand it because they're comparing it with Airbnb to some degree, what we're not experiencing is the explosive growth. And last year when we were discussing the tokenomics, you look at the tokenomics and kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive, you'll see that in the, oh, not this one. Why did I go to that page? Not that page either. Learn token. So look at that. Not that page. It's quite hard to find. Oh, there it is. Documentation. When you look at the tokenomics, and that's directly relevant to me and you, crypto, the crypto crowd. Yeah. What you'll notice is that the value primarily comes from two areas. Primarily, it comes from burning, and then it comes from people buying TRVL to stake to earn. Okay. Now, basically, in the last year, it hasn't been implemented. That's part of the problem. So we haven't really had the ability to evaluate whether the tokenomics could work or not in providing value or increasing value. And also hasn't given people the opportunity to stake, which would have helped with the selling, because now you can stake and you can't stake. what do you end up doing when the market's in a downturn? You sell. Whereas if you can stake, then the APR can offset the volatility a little bit. Okay. And then the other thing is that this burning. So I think it's potentially, it could be good, but actually in some ways it's a flaw, because the burning is directly related to the real world transactions and the size and the growth of the physical network. And even though we're growing, we haven't grown fast enough to warrant significant burning. And so you could argue we're at the tip of the beginning of this kind of journey. But the thing is, the growth hasn't been significant. And so I think people are coming to realize that. Yeah, people aren't stupid, half the time we are, but some of the time we're not. And so when it comes to understanding how the value is going to come, where the value is going to come from, you're thinking to yourself, well, how much value is TRVL going to be burned? When you've done like $1 million's worth of transactions, 3% is going to be burned, and that's going to roughly come to about $30,000. And in the scheme of the price, $30,000 is nothing. Yeah, burning $30,000 worth of TRVL doesn't add value to the price. Yeah, it's not significant enough to take that much TRVL out of the circulation. So the tokenomics that we're looking at, impressive as it may look, doesn't really do justice to the token price. Yeah, it's designed for an Airbnb size business. That's what it's designed for. It's designed for a fully fledged real world business that's doing millions of dollars of transactions per month or per day or whatever, and then you'll start seeing real increase in value in the token. And when you have a real world network that hasn't grown fast enough, and fundamentally the reason why it's not growing fast enough, fundamentally, and I'll tell you, just from based on my experience, of my knowledge, of my interaction with other Airbnb superhosts and hosts, this is me, the reality is that most people won't leave Airbnb. Yeah, for two reasons. Firstly, because it's centralized, there's a layer of protection. That intermediary actually protects, even though at times Airbnb has shown themselves to be hostile towards the host or towards the traveler. On the most part, there is that protection, that level of protection where they control the funds, they control the booking, and they can make decisions which protect. And people like that air of protection. But more importantly, the traffic. Yeah, Airbnb drives pretty much most of the short-term vacation rental traffic in the market. And so there's no real incentive to come over to Dtravel. And so the potentially saving on 10% or 12% or whatever percentage, passing that on to the guests isn't enough, isn't niche enough, not niche enough, it's too niche, isn't enough to bring over the masses, to bring over the crowds. So I think we've got some kind of more fundamental issues to deal with, and the problem that we're experiencing in reality is that the tokenomics does not help our early stages of growth. It doesn't. There's nothing here that's going to incentivize me as a host or someone else as an Airbnb host or to come to Dtravel. Yeah, and I think this is a real issue, and I've talked about this in the past. I've processed 27 bookings on Dtravel, and the 3% TRVL return to me is so pitiful that it's not even worth my time. The amount of energy and effort it goes to taking a guest off Airbnb and bringing them onto Dtravel to incentivize them with discounts isn't worth the TRVL that I get back, especially when the TRVL price is dropping and dropping and dropping, not going up. If it was going up, it would be in a different ballgame, because whatever I make in TRVL is going up. And so that's a real problem. And tokenomics is a well thought out tokenomics, but it doesn't address the needs of the hour, the need of the moment, which is the ability to attract people, the ability to grow, to incentivize the real world network, and the ability to grow a community which now has the ability to use their TRVL and grow their TRVL value. It's just, it hasn't been implemented, and even if it was implemented, it probably wouldn't do justice, probably. Okay, so it isn't just the tokenomics though, because the reaction hasn't been on it in a timely manner. We haven't had a timely reaction to the price action from Dtravel, and so there are other kind of fundamental issues in terms of the inability for Dtravel to understand the changing market in the crypto, because instead of there being 10,000 tokens as there was in the last bull market, now there's like millions, lots of meme coins. And so what's happening is that there's so much rug pulls going on. People feeling are starting to go back to the big blue chips, the bigger tokens, the ones which have large communities where every time the price drops, when it rallies, it pumps, like Solana, etc. And so they feel safer. A lot of people feel safer with those kind of more established tokens. Some of them are still low market cap, but more established tokens with a track record and a real kind of a business that's fully functioning, than with a more of a kind of a speculative investment. And that's kind of where we're at now. And I don't think that it's smart to sell. I really don't. Even though people are doing it, I don't think it's a smart, this is a smart play. Even though people are probably thinking to themselves, they were smart because they sold at 2.4 or at 2.6 and they can buy back in. The reality is that most people probably won't buy back in, because the lower we go, the more bearish this looks. It would have been nice to have a little failed auction or kind of find support at the all-time lows. We haven't done that. But that's kind of where we're at now. I can't lie, I'm not buying. I'm not actually interested in catching a falling knife. I never have been, and I'm not going to here. I'll probably just wait for the price to settle it, and then also I'll wait to see what happens at Dtravel, because there are some changes on the horizon, some big changes, I think. And I think any kind of significant shift in strategy or the makeup of the leadership or the way it's led, the communication, the community, or anything that kind of changes that is going to be positive. And I think probably when that happens, probably you get a really fast bounce back. And when you get the bounce back, a lot of people will be out of position, and they might have sold at like 18 or 19 or 21, 2.1, whatever. And then before you know it, the price will be right back at 3.1. And you shouldn't have sold, huh? You should have been buying rather than selling. But it's just hard to tell people to do that, so I'm not telling people to do anything. Okay, that being said, I am going to contemplate a couple of ideas for the lows. Okay, and I just for more of a technical thing. No comments on the project. I think it's a great buy, honestly. The market cap is 7 million. You know, it wouldn't be, all it really requires is someone with a bit of money to come and market buy like $1 or $2 million worth of TRVL, and the price will be right back at 4 or 5 cents again, and people will be like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have sold, oh I should have just waited, why did I panic sell? Yeah, and you never know, that shit can happen. No, shit happens, and in crypto anything can happen. So I think it's just, I would personally, I'm just being patient, just waiting, because I think changes are coming. They have to, and I think the application, the project is sound. Okay, I just think they have to marry the application with the correct style of leadership, okay, which engages with the community and gives value to the community, so we can build a community, a fanatical community, with a vision and a plan reflected in the tokenomics, which incentivizes everyone to participate, the community, the operators, the travelers, the investors. Yeah, and we don't have that at the moment. And so you've got the kind of the perfect storm which has arisen. This is a perfect storm, but the storms pass, storms pass, lows are formed, and then we pump to all-time highs. Basically, that's the future of that I'm envisioning. Okay, and then when we pump, it's going to be a mega pump, but that will and hopefully will coincide with all of the kind of the issues being addressed behind the scenes. And so I'm not kind of like, I'm not an architect of any of that, you know. I've just been here kind of just streaming, whatever, just waiting and watching. At the lows, I will give my 2 cents. Like everyone else is giving their 2 cents, I'll do the same. In Telegram, I'll go in there and give my 2 cents. That's not FUD, that's being honest. It's being honest at a time where it's already FUDded, you know. There's already fear. We've had fear, uncertainty, and doubt now since there. So there's no, it's not like anyone coming here and FUDding now isn't going to make any difference, because most of the people who sold have already sold. Yeah, so it's not FUD to raise your concerns and highlight issues when the price is already all-time lows. It doesn't really drive the price lower. What's driving the price lower right now, just to give you a little bit of context, is the crazy downward momentum that we're experiencing, and that's really what's driving the price lower at the moment. And so what I usually do is I just get my simple moving averages. I go to the daily time frame, and you can clearly see the 20 moving average, the 50 moving average. You've got this ugly downtrend. The price is just really in a bearish downtrend right now. Every moving average is bearishly pushing the price lower and lower and lower. And this is just going to happen. This is going to keep on pushing until every single person has sold who wants to sell. This will only go as low as the last person who sells. Eventually it will stop. Eventually it will stop. Yeah. So as long as people continue selling, it will go down. It doesn't really require buying for the price to stop going down. It just requires the selling to stop. So eventually it will stop. I don't know when it's going to happen, but you've got this crazy downtrend which is at the moment causing the price to go down. And so while people are looking at this bearish downtrend, they're feeling bearish, and so they're trying to kind of de-risk, de-leverage, de-whatever, and that's what's happening now. So they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're looking at the price action on a local time frame. In maybe 2 or 3 years time, we're going to be trading at who knows what, but right now people are feeling really bearish. They're not buying, they're selling. And I think it's coming to levels where it could be the buy of a lifetime personally. And so the lower it goes, the more interested I become in buying large amounts. And that's the reality of it. Yeah, the lower this goes, the more likely it is that I sell every bit of my crypto, whatever, and I buy a shit ton of TRVL because I'm still crazy bullish on this project. Okay, despite everything, despite anything that's happened or said. Yeah, just because I know those things can be rectified. All of the problems that have been highlighted can be fixed. Everything that people are concerned about can be resolved. Community engagement, communication, transparency, roadmaps, positive, cooperative leadership, strong, smart decisions at the right times, better tokenomics, improved, everything can be improved. All of that stuff is just stuff that can be improved. While the discussions are going on, while the price is dropping and people are feeling anxious, yeah, you're getting a lot of bad blood, a lot of bitterness, whatever. But you can just all throw all that away. This is starting to look like the buy of a lifetime, honestly. Yeah, it really is. It's bleeding, but so I'm not saying start buying, but you shouldn't be thinking of selling at these lows. You should be thinking of buying, okay? For all the reasons that I gave, it could be the buy of the lifetime. Yeah, it could be your one opportunity to change your life and to become wealthy. And my promise to you is that I'm doing my utmost to introduce positive ideas and positive changes to kind of improve and address all of those issues. Now, that is taking a little bit of time. That's requiring a little bit of toing and froing. That's requiring a little bit of emotional release. But we'll get there in the end. We will. I think we're going to get there in the end. Okay. And the other thing is that I have also proposed a significant shift in the way TRVL generates and grows value. I'm not going to blow my own trumpet because everyone thinks their idea is great. I think my idea addresses all of the things that people want in crypto. I've been around in crypto long enough to know what people want. And I think my idea addresses all of the things that people want, including burning, including staking, including good APR, including even gameplay, etc., etc. So I'm not going to describe my vision, but my ideas address what people want. And also I think my ideas address what we need, where we need to be. But that's a secondary conversation. I don't want to go into it right now. But when you look at the price, it looks terrible. Yeah, and obviously people are kind of contemplating Bitcoin and thinking, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to crash. I better sell. But ultimately the community is what holds the price. If people stop selling, this price stops going down. So I think stop selling, that would be my first wish. But beyond that, just looking at the higher time frame, I just want to kind of highlight a couple of things that will potentially help you decide where to buy. And that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you where to buy. I don't know, like everything I do is speculative, not financial advice, entertainment value only. I'm not telling you to buy, but I'm giving you ideas of where the price could bottom out and timings too. So we've invalidated, so just so that you realize what's going on, we have actually technically invalidated any bullish divergence. So there was bullish divergences formed on different time frames. We've invalidated. When the price takes the low, you invalidate the bullish divergence. It's just the way it works, yeah. Because then there was no bullish divergence because the price made the lower low, and therefore it's just following the price and the indicators that you use, the MACD or whatever, or RSI, are just following each other. Okay, maybe one is leading, but they're just following each other. So by taking out the low, the all-time low, we've actually invalidated any bullish divergences. And so ideally you'd want to see that start forming again. Okay, so that would be you can't see it on a higher time frame like the weekly, but maybe on the lower time frame we'd like to start seeing some bullish divergences form. That basically means that will give you an indication that people are buying. The other thing is that in the past I've talked about fib time, and you know, fib time is speculative. You can be right, you can be wrong. I think I was right and wrong when I said that this 1-to-1 is 1.618 was the low. It was the low until it became the high. At the time that I said it, it was perfectly the low, and the price went up a good 58% until it actually indicated the high. So again, fib time is an area, and it's very hard to kind of know exactly what's going on until it happens. And the interesting thing about this fib time chart, plotted from the beginning of the birth of TRVL, if you map it to the first low to the first rise, the 618 gave us the all-time low, the first all-time low. The 1-to-1 gave us the first high. And then we got, so let me just get rid of, I've got two at the moment, so let me get rid of the second one. And then look, the 1.618, even though at the time it was a good place to buy because we were back testing the 5.5 level, and it was coinciding with this 1.618, and the price did go up 58%. The reality is, in this context now, on a slightly higher time frame prompt, it looks as though the 1.618 was actually indicating the high. So we've gone from low to high on these major pivots, and the next major pivot, time pivot, is, according to this time scale, is the week of the 21st of April. So basically the last week of April. So potentially, just based on the way the price is moving, potentially I'll be looking for the low to be made sometime in April. I don't know where. Ideally just here. I wouldn't mind if it just goes sideways and we go up like that. That'd be perfect. Yeah. But I can't predict that. And you probably do need to go sideways for a long period of time to flatten out the momentum on the lower time frames and the medium time frames. Yeah. Because the momentum is a problem. Downward momentum. And if we can flatten out, we'll be fine. By the end of April, we'll be fine. Okay. So potentially we're going to get a low. And there's no reason to think that this is just going to go down, down, down. This is ridiculous. It's not going to do that. There probably will be a relief rally of sorts in the future. More like that, huh? There probably will be. Eventually there will be. Okay. And that would be a good place to buy, because you could easily, in a relief rally, you could easily go up 50%, maybe 100%. Who knows? Like, relief rallies can be mental, can be really bullish, can feel really bullish when they happen. No one can predict that. It's just food for thought. But I think it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. I mean, it could happen. It's highly unlikely we just go down and down and down. It doesn't make any sense in my mind. Okay. Here there was a couple of relief rallies in the move down. Here there was a few relief rallies in the move down. We haven't really had one though. So usually there is, and that will probably coincide with Bitcoin landing where it does and starting to pump. And when that happens, I think people just start to market buy TRVL again, and it'll be back to happy days when the price goes up. So that's this fib time is quite interesting. And then also, if you correspond it with the other fib time that I did, there's confluence. And so this was the other one. The other one was from this pivot to this pivot to this pivot. You've got the 618, which kind of landed at the lows here. The 1-to-1, which again bizarrely comes to the highs, and you have the 1618. Guess where it is? The 21st of April. So I always see this afterwards. It's hard to see from before, but you have a confluence now of fib time on the 21st of April. You have the 1.618 here and the 1 to 2 on different higher time frame pivots. So I would argue that that is kind of like the area where I'm looking for the price of TRVL to truly bottom out. That's kind of like my future idea. And the where is also speculative. Okay, now because we're going lower, this fib pool changes. So whereas before I had 3.30 cents area as a big resistance, now because we're going lower, we have to kind of trace this to see where the low is formed. I don't know where it's going to form. It's going to change our fibs actually, and actually that could make it easier to go up. And so this is what people need to realize. In some ways, it feels like it's harder to go up the lower you go, but actually the lower you go, the easier it is to get up if you can reverse the momentum. And that's what we have to do next, to change the momentum. The reason why is because the first fib comes lower, and so it's a lot easier to flip an area that's already acted as support in the past if the fib level drops. Yeah, so bizarrely, whereas before we had the first fib to the 236 as 5.5, it was hard to flip that into support for reasons that I can't explain. It was difficult. We were never able to flip 5.5 into actual support, and that would have been great, because if we could have just been doing that, then by April, whatever, we could have smashed it. Yeah, and we didn't get that. Okay, but bizarrely, the lower you go now, the easier it becomes, as long as you can overturn the momentum. Turning the momentum is really important. That just requires people to stop selling. I'm not saying buy, but if you do want to buy, put limit orders and absorb the selling and stop selling. Just stop selling. If everyone stopped selling, the price would stop going down. All right. But obviously, if people want to just push the market to capitulation, and then do it. You know, I think the capitulation level is probably going to be much lower than people imagine. Okay, just because we're in a lower liquid environment. Maybe that's what's required for the market to regain confidence. But like I said, the lower we go, the easier it becomes to go up, and the more interest will come into this token because it's so cheap. But eventually you have to cancel the momentum. So this is going to be quite interesting to see how low we eventually bottom out, so we can redraw our fibs. Interestingly enough, and this is quite interesting, when you redraw your fibs and to the lowest point, and you do a fib extension, okay, you actually have higher targets. It's really bizarre, isn't it? The lower you go, the higher your targets become, yeah, in an extended move to the upside, okay? And the higher the resistance. So in some ways, going lower can actually be extremely bullish after we turn the momentum, okay? And also after certain things improve, which regain confidence of the community, and then that starts to grow again, regrow again. Okay, so if you can marry those two ideas together, we could actually be setting ourselves up for the most amazing explosive move in the future. Okay, it's just food for thought, entertainment value only. So here, interesting enough, the lower we go, the higher our targets and the more money there is to be made. And so just consider that. Yeah, it's hard to conceive, but it's a possibility. And it's not a probability, it's a possibility. Obviously it depends on Bitcoin too. Yeah, but that goes without saying. So we've got these really important time pivots. Now when it comes to this move, I would argue this whole thing is now a corrective move, like one higher time frame corrective move, just for the price trying to find the actual low, which it obviously hasn't found yet, hasn't found the low. Now you could argue that part of the reason it hasn't found the low is the fundamental changes, or not changes, just fundamental issues, possibly. But eventually we'll find the low because the project's not going anywhere. The project, like I said, has a runway for a good 1.5 years. All the team are still dedicated, they're still working hard, they're still committed, they're still passionate about Dtravel, decentralized travel. It's just, you know, at the moment we're going for a kind of a period of uncertainty for many different reasons, and that's what we're experiencing. That's what the charts are showing us. That's all that's happening. It's not it's alarming, yes, but it's nothing to be worried about if you're a long hodler like me. All we do is we just go back to the drawing board, we work twice as hard, we bash it out, we discuss, we argue, and then we finally come up with something even better, even more amazing, even more bullish. Yeah, and that is what I'm striving for. That is what I'm yearning for. Really, that's where my mind is at. Okay, to try and come up with something even better, so good that it's too good to be true, and only then can we explode out of these lows. Okay, that's kind of what we're all working for. And so what I wanted to share with you is a possibility, it's always a possibility of some kind of higher time frame WXY. Yeah, it's just speculation, and everything comes to light after the fact, not necessarily during this. You see, the thing with corrections and moves is that they change. You know, people argue, oh, this is what was happening all the time. Well, no, it wasn't, because we had our impulsive move here and here. If we hold a higher low here, then you're into your next impulsive move. Like, this wasn't always going to happen, but as things develop, then you can start seeing other things, you know. And so it's a story in motion, you know. It's a dynamic story. So possibly I'm thinking maybe something like this, like an WXY. Maybe we had our first kind of push down, 1 2 3 4 5 there. Maybe this midsection is just some kind of higher time frame corrective ABC, and maybe what we're experiencing now is the final ABC, and it's plausible. What I'm suggesting is very plausible for the final corrective move. Yeah, it doesn't excuse the problems. The problems still have to be rectified. I'm not saying this was always going to happen, but this is our current trajectory based on everything that has been happening. This is our current trajectory, and depending on how the problems get addressed depends on how low we go in this Y. We're already at all-time lows, so it doesn't really matter how low we go, but obviously I've said the lower, the more bullish it could become, but it doesn't change the fact that the momentum has to stop. The downward momentum has to stop, which is why probably we need to change and shift the momentum by the end of April. Once we can flatten out the momentum, then we can actually ping right back up, and then you're in a crazy bull cycle like of this token, and forget about the rest of the market. All right, so if this is what I'm looking at now, which it is, and I do my trend base extension, effectively I'm taking it from the top there to the W to the X, then I've got a very low target of 0.008. I think that would be as low as I can imagine this, based on the original move, based on the original down move. Really, I don't really, it can't, I mean, you could argue it can go all the way down to there for a 1-to-1, but it's just so low that it doesn't make any sense. That's as low as I can imagine the price. Yeah, so I'm not saying it's going to go there, but I would say that if tomorrow you wake up and the price is there, you buy the fucker. You buy like hell, because you're coming into some kind of higher time frame, a massive fib extension, which corresponds perfect. Price could only move so far before it comes back. You know, that's just the price moves like that. But this is on the highest time frame, so I don't expect that to happen overnight, if it is going to happen. And actually it may not happen, and the reason why, and I'll explain why, is because on this last corrective move, this last X to Y that I have, yeah, you also have you can also do a fib, a trend-based fib, and I'm using the MEXC chart, so it might be slightly different when you combine the charts, but I'll just use this because this has the correct all-time high. So these are not exact numbers, they're as always, there are areas, and you'll go from there to here to here. And based on this move, this corrective move, so to speak, the one-to-one puts us at about 14.5 or 0.014 for your one-to-one. So this is a one-to-one. That's kind of probably where I think the low could form initially. Yeah, could form. Yeah, and obviously if it doesn't form there, then right down to this lower number, which would also have confluence with this fib extension and the other fib extension that I did. Not that one, this one. There's kind of a little bit of confluence down there at 8 point, whatever this is, 0.0083, 0.0088, somewhere around there. Okay, I think that's as low as you can possibly go in this token without some kind of crazy bankruptcy bullshit, which I don't, it can't happen really, because they have a 1.5 years of runway. Like, they can just go for another 1.5 years without any extra investment, with the current team doing what they're doing. So I just think that's just crazy, and the team have been there since the beginning. They haven't changed, so they're 100% committed, so they're not going anywhere. So it's just hard to imagine. All right, so this is kind of roughly where we're at. I'm not saying it's going to go to any of these numbers. I have no idea. I just want to be clear about that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think that these are areas where the price could find some kind of natural fib support, and the proof is in the pudding. We'll just have to see what happens then, whether people start buying, whether the selling stops, if it does get down there. The other alternative, and the other reason why this kind of 1.414 area is good, is because if I do a fib extension, it's a bog standard fib extension, very simple analysis from this low to this high. You've got this area here, which is what I indicated is the 1.618. That's a really good area if it ever gets to that area. That's overextended, so I don't expect it. But initially, this first area, you see the 1.272 of this and the 1-to-1 of that. There's another kind of little bit of an area here where the price could bottom out. Like, we just have to see what happens. For the price to bottom out, it's the same thing needs to happen as I've always said. You need to see a change in market structure. It's very important, change in market structure. You can't bottom out without changing market structure, and that requires a little bit of time. And I'd like to see it on the daily time frame. In this context, yeah, the price would have to, in this context, the price would still have to do what I said, You'd have to go all the way up to there, 2.8, 2.9 cents. Just take out that high, put in a higher low, and take out the high. That would be a change in market structure on the daily. If you see that, that's a bottom, okay? Or at least that's a kind of a temporary bottom, like a daily bottom, okay? Not a higher weekly or monthly bottom, but a daily time frame bottom. So in this context, it doesn't really matter when it happens or where it happens. When would be nice if it happens at the end of April, because that would coincide with our Fib time. But if you do have kind of like areas in mind, initially maybe 14 here, 0.014. If that's the area that you want it to bottom, you want to do the same thing. Lower high, lower low, higher high, higher lows. Oh, all of a sudden you're looking at an inverse head and shoulders pattern. That's kind of what you want to see. You want to see market structure change on a daily time frame. It just indicates that the people are buying now. They're willing to buy higher, and they're willing the sellers are not willing to sell lower. That's all. It just indicates that the market has changed from selling to buying. Okay, once you see that, that would be a real nice signal. And then the other thing that I was thinking, and this is also possible because everything is possible in crypto, is a mad old world. Yeah, so everything's possible. We are at good places to buy. Anything underneath the previous all-time lows is a good place to buy. It's a buy zone. This whole thing is a buy zone. Just like price discovery to the upside is a sell zone, this is inverse price discovery. It's a buy zone. This whole thing is a buy zone. It's just you're not looking to just catch falling knives, and so you're just waiting for the price to settle. And while it isn't settling, people are panic selling, hoping to buy back lower. That's really what's happening right now. Selling to buy back lower, or maybe selling for other reasons to buy other tokens. All the way down to my level, we have another 23% drop. But this is the level of interest, this all-time low. So let me just mark it off. It's a very important level. So if you want to mark it off, you should. The previous all-time low. Okay, that's a really important level. And the reason why it's an important level, because you could also end up with a failed auction. A failed auction would be the price to kind of not go down that far, just fizzle out, and then suddenly you get a buyback, and it just takes the price right back above there. All of a sudden you're above the previous all-time low. That'd be quite impulsive, and then the correction would find support back above the previous all-time low. Yeah, it may not do it in one go. It may take a little bit of time until it eventually does. And that's why I'm saying we're in a buy zone now. We're not in a sell zone, we're in a buy zone. Okay, I can't predict that. I don't know if that's going to happen. No one can predict that. But that could be, that's also possible. That's also possible. It's also possible, and no one can know if it's going to happen or not. Eventually, what will happen, and we'll just have to see it and then analyze it and see what happens. And that would be quite good if we had a failed auction of the all-time low, found support of the all-time low, and people would be like, oh wow, the all-time low was good. That was just, we had an opportunity to buy low, we didn't. Who cares? We're going to just buy back in now and then pump. And then you've had a failed auction of the low. We're still bearish on a higher time frame, but you know, in a situation like this, you could traverse right back up to the high of the range. So you're still range bound. It's just that this was a deviation, technically deviation of the lows, failed auction, and then you're just going right back up to the top. And we're just range bound. We're just effectively, TRVL is a range bound token. It's going from highs to lows. Great for trading. Potentially, if that happens, a lot of people will sell into that next pump. It'll come right back down. Maybe then people will start trading this fucking range. Yeah, maybe this is the history of TRVL for the next however many months or years, just up and down, up and down. Who knows? Like, no one can predict the future. Maybe, you know, maybe actually this is a good token, because the next time people will be looking to sell and waiting for it to fall back to the lows again, and then, you know, and then eventually we will start getting some higher lows, and then get out of here, you know. And this is the thing, like, anything can happen, and we just have to be patient. So at the moment, we just have to let this fizzle out and bottom out and find a low. You could arguably buy anywhere here. You could wait for a daily market structure change. You could wait for lower prices, or you could just wait for a failed auction of sorts. There's lots of things you can do. But one thing you don't need to do is rush. There's no need to rush. There's no need to rush to sell. There's no need to rush to buy. You could just wait and see what happens. And ideally, ultimately, what I want to see is this downward momentum to fizzle out. It will eventually. Okay. It will probably require some kind of relief rally, some kind of impulsiveness, just to kind of, otherwise this momentum is going to really be difficult to overcome. Or some strong limit orders. So this price just goes flat, and then eventually you just flatten out, whatever. It'll just flatten out. Some strong limit orders would go down very well. If someone's out there watching me, multi-millionaire, just put some big limit orders there and just absorb the selling, and eventually the selling will stop and we can fizzle out this this bullshit momentum. The other thing that we can look at, which is very interesting, is on a weekly time frame. You have these kind of higher time frame moving averages, these weekly time frame moving averages, the 20 and the 50, which is the ones I generally use. It's flat, isn't it? It's not really going down. It's flat. Even though it looks like the whole thing is going down, it's not really, is it? Because the momentum is actually, ever since we kind of crossed it here, bottomed out here, the whole momentum of the higher time frame is pretty flat. It's a flat momentum on the highest time frames. It's not downward momentum, it's flat. Yeah. So effectively we are bottoming out on the higher time frame. It's just that right now we've taken the all-time low, and so it's looking really bearish. It is. You see here the monthly time frame, the 20 moving average is flat. What we don't want to do is linger here for too long. Yeah. So whatever happens, we don't want to linger here for that long. We don't want to be down here for months on end. We don't want to end up here for months on end. Yeah. Because if that happens, these higher time frame momentum lines will start trending down, whatever. And if you're just down here and stuck, then actually you're looking to go lower. Yeah. And so whatever happens, we need to get this, whatever needs to be sorted at Dtravel, whatever needs to happen really soon. Hopefully sooner the better. And hopefully we'll get a failed auction and just come back above here, just to bottom out here. And then by end of April, we can take this token to all-time highs. Why not? Why are people so dreary? If you could put all-time lows consecutively 4 times, 5, 6 times in a row, why can't we put all-time highs? I mean, we just have to change the ingredients, just kind of cook something different. So anyway, am I feeling bearish? No. Actually, you know, the emotions that you feel when you're bearish are the best times to buy. When you start feeling really bearish, these are the buy opportunities. So the lower we go, the more bullish I become. And when it comes to the other problems, the fundamental problems, as I told you, I'm working really hard without getting paid a penny, but lots of time and effort into this. It's a hobby of mine. I want us to do something great. I'm doing my best, my utmost to influence is one word, or to suggest, or to bash. I don't know, use whichever word you want. If you don't like my manner, tough, you know, this is what you got. You can either get along with me and we can work together, or you can be a Grinch and just be really, really nasty and just make fun of me, whatever. That's on you. It's not on me. Okay, because I'm here trying to help people to not panic sell, and I'm trying to show people that there is value in Dtravel, and we have the potential now to do something amazing. Like, I really believe that. Eventually it will require some kind of fresh start. Once we do get over that final last bit, that fresh start, we can't look back. We have to just wipe the stain clean, and then everyone has to be on board and just go forward. And that's what I think will happen. I really do believe that. Otherwise I won't be here making another TRVL video. Okay, so I've given you some kind of ideas of what needs to happen, what could happen. I'm actually quite encouraged by the higher time frame momentum. It's flat. So often, you know, you'll be lingering in the lows here, whatever, however low you get, and then the price is just going to ping right back up, because that's how momentum works. And when you've got this higher time frame momentum, I'm not saying it doesn't come back down because of the kind of the lower time frame momentum still being kind of dreary down, But that's sometimes what happens, and that's kind of how you turn these kind of the lower time frame. I mean, that's how you change market structure. And so we're kind of looking for the price to just slow down. Yeah, it's a really bad idea to sell into negative price discovery underneath the old. Really bad idea. Like whoever's doing it is honestly mental. It's like we're only like you've sold the all-time lows, and in 3 days, 4 days, whatever, you've only gained 4%. That's a terrible trade. The risk is to the upside, not to the downside. You're selling 4%, yeah, and to the upside, to the top of the range, let's just say 9 cents or whatever is the top of the range, it's 300%. It's mental. It's mental what you're doing. Whoever's doing that is nutcase, yeah. And so despite the uncertainty, the fear and the doubt, I'm here to reassure you that there is no fear, uncertainty and doubt, because I'm here doing my best, my utmost, making sure, and I think the Dtravel team are fully aware of the difficulties, and they're all seriously looking at the proposals and the changes that I've made, that different people have made. They're not sitting on their thumbs doing jack shit. They're doing something about it. They may not be good at communication. I can help with that. That's why I'm here, to help communicate. But they're doing their utmost, and be sure that we're going to recover. We're going to fight back, and when we do, it's going to be glorious. Okay, and then we'll forget about this shit. Forget about all the difficulties, you know, because there's no triumph without a little bit of difficulty. Yeah, it's really that simple. That's what I believe. You know, hard times create character, and good times create induces confidence. Right now we're just building our characters a little bit, you know, like, can we hold on, can we suffer a negative portfolio balance, whatever. You might argue that they've done things wrong, so will I, but I think the most important thing is that we can overcome and get over this, and then look to a brighter future. It will come eventually, as long as certain changes are made. That will kind of calm the community a little bit, and then beyond that, addressing the real difficulty of introducing TRVL, utility value, which can induce volume, etc., liquidity, and all those kind of more technical difficulties. And the problem is that these shit coins, these meme coins, are sucking the liquidity out of the rest of the market, and so these genuine real world crypto products, Web3 products, have struggled. A lot of them have struggled, yeah. So it's for us to kind of be ingenious, to be creative, to be innovative about how we tackle those problems and come up with something that can fight back. And that's what I think. I think that's really the direction we should take, that we should acknowledge and recognize what's happening, and then we should now look to pivot to something which is going to actually do what needs to happen for the future. But I mean, that's just food for thought. This is where we are, and it is what it is. So let's not over panic. Yeah, let's not panic. Let's just watch for the momentum to fizzle. Look, there's a little bit of buying today. Look at that, a little bit buying. Yeah, this is on Mexi, so there's a little bit of buying today. Look, this is market buying. So selling, buying. There's some people selling and buying. That was a little capitulation, but it's only come back down to test the bottom of the candle. Now we're kind of trying to get back above it. So we're kind of forming some kind of lower ranges, and eventually the momentum will fizzle out. Eventually it will. Like looking at the lower time. Look, this is the lowest time frame. We're trying to flatten out these lower. Look, see, in 5 minute time frame, this momentum is actually up now. We're kind of trying to trend up now on the lowest time frames. You can see there's market buying. Some people are just panicking. I think if you do panic sell, then and you're still interested in the project, just put some limit orders, and just wait for the selling to absorb the selling. That'll be appreciated. Thank you. All right, that's TRVL.